Summer Games Fest invited me to PlayDays in Los Angeles, where I got to play a bunch of games and meet a lot of really cool people. But one of my appointments was Naruto Storm Connections, my final appointment, in fact. So here I am, still at the hotel, with this game very fresh in my mind, and I've got some thoughts. First of all, if you're watching this video, that means that Boruto Karma, Kawaki and Jigen were just revealed. I think Boruto and Kawaki were very obvious. I did expect Jigen to make it at some point, but it was nice to see them announce 3 characters instead of just 2. It keeps things unpredictable for the next reveal. It's not just gonna be 2 characters every single time. And I did watch the trailer, but I also got to play as those characters. And I do think that what they're doing with the new characters is pretty wild, but today I want to focus on system mechanics. I want to focus on how the game plays as a whole, and of course the big question, how different is this from Naruto Storm 4? When we got Storm Generations, we got a brand new substitution bar. Storm 4 introduced leader switching. So what is Connections introducing? This was the big question in my mind going into this demo. And the answer is nothing that big. Now this game does change a few things that I don't think anyone is expecting or anyone asked for, and things that will definitely change online and competitive play in a significant way. But if you zoom out and take a look at the history of this series, then this definitely doesn't feel as big of a step forward as the other sequels did. So in my opinion, Bandai Namco has a very hard pill to swallow here, because at some point, they're gonna have to break those expectations. They'll have to show players here's what the game is by either giving them a demo or by just showing them a very detailed trailer on what all the new systems are. All of this so players can stop speculating and wondering what the new mechanic is, because there isn't one. And that way we can move past this speculation and focus on the new announcements, because every single new announcement has been pretty cool. So with that out of the way, I won't tease you any longer. Let's start with what I think is the biggest change to the combat system. Chakra is just always regenerating. You do a Jutsu or a Chakra dash and you spend that Chakra, and after a small delay, it just starts regenerating again. You can still stop and manually charge Chakra and that will be faster, but the way the game is right now, I don't think you'll ever need to do that. And this is kind of a crazy change that I'm kind of into. It's gonna make the game a lot more active because you are always going on the offense. You never need to look for that opening and time waste to charge up Chakra. You just never have to stop. That said, if you just keep spending Chakra and spending Chakra, you won't regenerate. There is a small cooldown after you spend it before it starts regenerating again. So if you are just doing Jutsu, then you will run out of Chakra. It is possible. And if you just want to play neutral, doing some moves that don't use Chakra, yeah, it will just come back on its own. Now, I like the idea behind this change, and I had a lot of fun playing in this build against the producers. But will it be a good change for the scene in general? We'll have to wait and see. I think it will make spamming strategies a lot more stronger. I think character Jutsu will be valued even more than they currently are. It's gonna change things, but at the end of the day, this is what a sequel is supposed to do, and this is a pretty big change, all things considered. Just maybe not as big as what we expected, but that was not everything. While I was playing against the producer, I was blocking their pressure, and I tried to tilt out of their block string. And every time I tried using tilt, it just never worked. So at some point I just asked, hey, is tilt gone? And the answer is yes. Kind of. So the tilt input is definitely gone. If you tilt the stick and hit the attack button, no move will come out anymore. But every character now has a new thing, which is a second jutsu. Yes, every character now has 2 ninjutsu instead of just 1. And what used to be the tilt move on all the characters that are right now in Storm 4 is now their second ninjutsu. And this has so many implications. So first of all, this was one of the main defensive options in Storm. You used to be able to tilt out of very small gaps in a block string, and now that option is just gone because there's no tilt anymore. But because it is a jutsu, that means you're going to be able to put these abilities into very different spots. You can cancel from attacks into them, for instance. We're going to find new ways to use these abilities, but mostly on the offensive side of things. But also the input for the second ninjutsu for every character is triangle plus the ninja tool button, which means powered up ninja tools are just gone. You cannot throw kunai embedded with Chakra anymore, which I don't think is that big of a deal, but let me know if I'm wrong. And another cool change that I actually like is guard break. Now, guard break is still up on the D-pad, that has not changed, but this time it does not have 2 stocks. You can just use it during the whole match as many times as you want, but it is on a cooldown. So it's something you gotta look out for once in a while if you are blocking some pressure, but after you dodge it once, you'll be fine because it goes on cooldown and you can relax for a little bit while it comes back. It also has a much bigger range than before, like the dash that guard breaks, it goes a lot further, which sounds like a buff, and maybe it is, but to me it felt like a nerf actually, because it's just much easier to punish. If you dodge that initial dash, then the character's just gonna keep going and it's easier to catch up with them and punish them. Now, so far I talked about changes that I think are interesting. They definitely made the game feel fresh, yet very familiar for sure, but a much more aggressive game overall, and I did have a ton of fun just playing it with the producers. But at this point you might be thinking, well, defense needs something. I mean, they removed tilt and they give you free Chakra. I mean, how do you defend? Well, folks, I'm not a fan of this next change, but it might be the answer you seek. Counterattack is super busted. So when they introduced counter in Storm Revolution, you'd hit the button and the opponent that attacks you would be completely stunned. And players thought this was too strong, and CyberConnect 2 said, yeah, okay, we agree, it's too strong, we'll make it weaker in Storm 4. It now just knocks you away and you return to neutral. Still powerful, but not as busted. They kind of reverted that. I wouldn't say this stuns you, but it's close. It staggers you. You know how you get hit by a melee attack by any character and the enemy does a little stagger? It's kind of like that. They have the stumbling animation, but they're not knocked away from you, which means you just get a free combo if you land a counter. They can still sub out of it because they're not stunned at all, but still, that is a direct buff to counter. I think it's a lot stronger the way this is right now, but that's not why I say that it's super busted. Counter is free. It doesn't make your chakra bar smaller anymore, it's just free. It did feel easier to punish, or maybe the counter window is smaller so you can hit them on recovery a lot easier. But yeah, you can still leader switch to make the counter safe, so it's gonna be messed up. And I want to end this section of the video by saying that there probably is more, but I only had 30 minutes with the game. There were some crazy combos that I was able to pull off with the new knockbacks, but all of it felt very accidental. But these were definitely the biggest changes that I noticed. Now, I do want to talk about the new characters, because they feel like they are built different. I had a chance to try all the new characters, including the new Boruto, Kawaki, and Jigen. The only ones I didn't play as were Ashura and Indra, but I did play against them. They have some crazy AoE jutsu that is kind of substitution proof, that feels very, very strong. And that's kind of what I mean by these characters are feeling like they're built different. I think they're getting really creative with their movesets, especially with their ninjutsu. I mean, the new Sasuke, we've all seen his triple fireball jutsu, right, from the first gameplay, but now you know that every character has two jutsu. The other ninjutsu from Sasuke, it just swaps places with you. So let's say Sasuke's right here, an enemy is dashing towards him, you swap places, he just keeps dashing the wrong way. And if you're on the receiving end of that, it does take you a moment to realize what happened, because it's so fast and it's disorienting. I thought it was really cool. Kawaki has a karma jutsu where it just puts his hand out and absorbs anything, so they're getting a lot more creative with jutsu, and that's awesome to see, because that leaves me so much more excited to see their next character announcements. It's very unpredictable, you never know what's gonna happen next, and it does feel like the new characters are a lot more unique. They have a lot more identity than the 1,000 clones they came before. They also showed me the new simple controls, and it's a completely different control scheme, by the way. It's not just, hey, you got auto combos now. No, all the buttons are different. Hitting triangle throws a jutsu, just like that. If you want a chakra dash, you just hold the block button and hit the jump. In fact, holding the block button is what levels up a lot of your face buttons. So I told you how triangle is a ninjutsu. If you hold the block and hit triangle, that's your ultimate. I think it does take away some of your freedom and options, so I don't think anyone who is already into Storm is gonna switch to that, but it's a really nice control scheme for beginners, 100%, and it's definitely a viable control scheme up to a certain level. Oh, I did see the stage selection screen. It has 2 pages now. It's very similar to the Storm 4 selection screen, but it's a 9x4 grid instead of a 10x4 grid like you have in Storm 4. So there are 36 pages in that first page, and they didn't show me the second one, so I don't know how many stages are in the second page. Also, they hid the character select screen for me every time they went to switch characters, but the game will be playable at Anime Expo. So if you happen to play it, just take a picture of that character select screen. Let's see what it looks like. And also the second page of the stage selection. I'm curious. But since I had their attention, and apparently a lot of these guys are fans of my videos, I couldn't resist in showing them some of the broken stuff that was in Storm 4, and yes, it's still in Connections. Now, throughout the demo, I was playing the game the way I knew how to, and I noticed that jump cancels are still in the game, ninja move cancels, they're still in the game. You can ninja move cancel into ultimate, and then I started showing them infinites and switch tech, and yep, that's all still in the game. You can still throw a jutsu or chakra dash for free if you just switch characters. Now, to their credit, this time it feels like they were actually listening. I didn't get just the usual PR answer of, well, we really appreciate your feedback, we'll make sure to communicate it to the development team. No, the person doing the presentation wanted to understand switch tech. They asked me, okay, so can you show me the buttons, like how does this work exactly? They were interested in having a real look at this stuff. And some people like switch tech, they're gonna be pissed off that I told them this, but it was always a glitch. I think the switching is good, but I think it should also cost chakra. You shouldn't be doing jutsu for free, especially in Storm Connections, because your chakra regenerates all the time. If you can regenerate chakra for free and use switch tech, you're gonna have the most broken Storm game you've ever had. But it felt like they were actually listening, and that lines up with a lot of what I've been hearing about Bandai Namco recently, which is they restructured the whole company to be better about not only listening, but actually implementing community feedback. They're trying to be better about bringing all of this feedback to the development teams, and I really felt that in this trip, which leaves me really optimistic about Naruto Storm Connections. I don't know if it will be a perfect game at launch, but it's a Storm game that's being built to be supported over time. You look at Storm 4 right now, and that's still an active game. People are still actively playing lobbies and multiplayer. Now imagine having that, but with balanced patches and DLC updates, and I think that's the promise with Connections. And I'm here for it. Thank you for this opportunity, not only to the people that invited me, but also to you who watch my videos. I got to realize a lifelong dream, which was to make it to E3. Well, kind of. Summer Games Fest is the new E3. I'm not gonna get picky. And I was able to do it because you were watching my videos, and so thank you. It felt strangely like a big milestone was achieved for me. And I played a lot of other stuff, and videos will be coming out during the course of the next 2 months or so, because each game has its own weird restrictions. And turns out, none of these anime that I talked about in the last video got announced. So yeah, none of them got games, which is weird because they would all print money. So yeah, maybe look at this video if you're rich or a publisher that can buy an IP. See you guys back home. Bye.